Hello, it's Karen, the Weekend Craftaholic, and today I'm showing you how I made the first block of Moda Blockheads 6. If you saw my video last week, you will see that I'm using GoodNotes, so click on that link if you want to see a bit more on how I adapt and use GoodNotes for my patterns. And full disclaimer, I did try to video this for you. I'm just showing you my sewing room now. I've tried so hard to get the right setup to capture and video. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work, so I'm going to be showing you my progress in the next few videos just with photographs, but I am going to continue again and try and get this working. So let's start with some videos I did manage to capture, which is me sewing up these half square triangles. You can see I've already drawn the line here. I'm using a pin to put it in place, but the pattern requires you to sew on either side of this. Then you cut along the line, and then when you press it out, you've got both fabric choices in one square. So it's a way of making one square with two different halves of patterns. Now I will say at this point, I've only ever done a few quilting blocks previously. I've made a lot of quilts, but just with basic squares or rectangle shapes. I haven't actually done anything using these nice blocks, which is why Moda Blockheads, for me, when I stumbled across it, I thought this is perfect. So if you're like a beginner quilter like me, I would definitely encourage you to sew along with this. I'm not imagining that I'm going to actually even be able to create a quilt with all of these blocks, but I'm using it as a learning experience. And if I do manage to make a little block along the way, I will be so pleased with myself. But who knows? I think when I come to the end of this one, you'll see I've made so many mistakes. The experience itself is worthwhile, and there's nothing to stop me going back later once I've got a bit more confidence to remake this block. So that's why I'm keeping them all on my iPad. So you can see I've chain stitched all of these, and I've got my little thread cutter just to separate those as well. I'm using this little stitch bunny at the beginning just to stop the needle going into the beginning of the fabric there and sinking it. I will say I had a lot of issues recording this first video. I broke needles twice, my bobbin snapped, realised sometimes I didn't press record when I thought I had, so that's why I decided just to show photographs for the rest of this. The other thing I'm not going to hide, I'm fully transparent. I wanted to show you some of the fails along the way as well, because I love watching people make the tutorials. I'm not going to say this is a tutorial. This is a video of my experience with Moda Blockheads as a complete beginner. So you will see some mistakes that I've made. So especially with block 2, the video is coming up tomorrow for that, by the way, you will see I have so much trouble. I should not have picked directional fabric for my background fabric. That was my big mistake. But at this point I've already cut out ready 6 blocks worth, so I'm going to go with it, and again take it as a learning experience. Because I do end up unpicking and resewing and unpicking and resewing. So if you're a stitcher as well, you'll know the pain of having to get out the seam ripper. So you can see here, this is where I'm just cutting those in half on my little rotary cutter. This was my first mistake, I think. I realised I probably should have stood up and get full weight behind it. Then I should have replaced my blade a lot sooner, which I've done that now. And again, I thought you'd be able to see me from this angle, just pressing those seams as well, which you can just about see on the edge of the camera there. So it's kind of, I do like it. It's very therapeutic, the repetition of doing it. I mean, this particular one we do 4 lots, so I do love the repetition of having to go through that and repeat the process each time. Now this second half of the video is where it probably gets a bit more interesting. You get to see my mess. You can see here, this is when I'd actually finished putting all the pieces together, ready to sew, and sew in rows and then sew in columns. You can see here as well, just where I realised there is some major issues with my seam allowances and the way that I'd cut them. You can see here where I'm trying to nest things and align things up, and it just does not go to plan. Honestly, it really doesn't. But you know what, I'm going to look back on this block 1 and realise the amount of stuff that I've learned from going through this has put me in good stead for the rest of the blocks that I'm doing. This is where I get to the point where overall block size is meant to be 9.5 by 9.5 inch. My final block size ends up being 8 inch, and you can see there just where all of those points are cut off. But you know what, I'm still super proud of it. It took me a couple of hours, and I've made notes here in my GoodNotes just of things that went wrong or things that I need to make note of for future as well. So I hope you'll stick with me. I promise the following blockhead videos will hopefully be videos and will be a little bit more informative, and you will actually be able to see each stage of that stitching as well. But thank you for watching. I do appreciate you sticking around to the end. Have a great weekend.